first, before we get to TP, we're going to bring on Blazers assistant coach Dale Osbourne. He is joining us from New York City, where the Blazers will take on the Knicks in the famed Madison Square Garden. Coach, thanks for hopping on with us tonight.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Do appreciate you. And Blazers have turned into road warriors in this calendar year in 2016. They have won 7 of their 8 games so far. What's been the biggest difference?
I think right now our chemistry is really going good right now, and obviously our defense has been real good the last 2 games, and guys are just playing well together. And so far on this road trip, we've put it together. I think before we came on this road trip, the last 3 games that we played, teams shot over 50%. And on this road trip, we're holding teams in the low 40s, which is good. So hopefully we can continue to play that way.
So, Coach, the chemistry, I think, all year has been good. But when you say the chemistry now is better and is the reason for the team winning 7 of 8 on the road and all of the other numbers that I can throw out there, can you point to 1 or 2 things from a chemistry standpoint that has ticked upward?
I think just from being together 3/4 of the season, I think that has a lot to do with it, and also the fact that Damian Lillard is such a great leader. Chemistry can also mean off the floor, and I think he does a great job of getting guys off the floor as well as playing on the floor with them. So I think that really helped. Another great example of that is today, Coach Stotts arranged for the team to go to the World Trade Center site, and we're doing a lot more stuff together off the floor as well as on the floor, and guys really enjoy being around each other and playing together. So I think that really helps.
That's impressive. I mean, Damian Lillard, you can't sing his praises enough, and he has taken his game to a whole new level than really when the season started. And whether he's making a statement or not, Coach, the entire league is taking notice, and you guys have got to be most pleased with not only his leadership but the production that we're seeing out of Dame on the floor.
Right. Well, he's having a great year. Obviously, I think not making an All-Star kind of lit another fire under him. And he's showing people, like, he's an elite player. He needs to be involved up there when elite names come up as great players in this league. And Dame just wants to win. He's focused. He wants this team to get to the playoffs, and he's just doing everything he can for us as a leader and as a basketball player. So you're right. We can't sing his praise enough. And also, I don't think people realize if you don't know him, he's just a great kid, and he's so easy to talk to. And I think that's what our coaches and our players really appreciate about him.
Coach, good evening. Terry Porter. You did mention about Damian, and I think when you start talking about today's NBA, you talk about the great players. They want to be coached, and they want to be held accountable, and I think that's something he has done from day one this year. Talked about his leadership, talked about his ability to step up and play at a very high level. Well, whenever you have a setback or disappointment, obviously the All-Star game, then you try to silence your critics, and he has done a great job of taking his team and leading his team, not only at the defensive end, but also extremely well at the offensive end. And it's great to see that with so many questions going into this game, with the team being young, not knowing where the leadership would come, that Terry and your staff have done a great job of building, having multiple team building type of events, especially going out on the road. I think anybody who's ever been involved with coaching, especially in this league, they talk about building the team when they get out on the road. And so I commend you guys and your effort, and obviously it's great to see you guys play at a high level.
Well, appreciate that, Terry. And I think you made a great point. There's a lot of egos in this league. And sometimes guys who have been in this league who have been around in this league, you're right, it's kind of hard to coach those guys and hold them accountable. And this kid, he's completely different. He wants to be held accountable. He wants to be treated the same, even though obviously he's not. But he knows it's important, the way we go, the way he goes. So if he's out there, he's not doing something right, he wants to be told about it. If we're in film and he's not doing something right, he wants to be told about it just like anybody else wants to be told about it. So when our players, our veteran players, and our young players see that he's in line with what we're trying to do, they fall right in line. So he's made it that much easier for us as a staff to get this thing going in the right way.
Coach, as I'm listening to you and Terry talk about Dame and his willingness to be coached, I've always said, and I said it to my kids, that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And it's at that moment that the student will realize the teacher was always there.
Exactly, right.
But Coach, while we have you here, I want to make a point about Coach Stotts that from what I observe, and I kind of want to ask you a question about it. His leadership is – I don't say it's understated, but I don't think it gets enough attention and credit in the midst of what this team is doing.
Exactly.
Managing the schedule is one thing, but when you're managing a young roster and guys are in the rotation and out of the rotation and they work as hard as these guys work before the game to keep themselves mentally and physically ready, some of that has to reflect on the leadership of the head coach.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know what? He does a fantastic job of allowing guys to grow as players. A lot of stuff that coaches, that will drive coaches absolutely crazy. He has the ability to, look past mistakes of certain players and just say, hey, continue to let these guys get better. We're not going to bail on them. We got to continue to work with them, and we got to continue to stay positive with them. So you're exactly right. He does a great job with that.
You know what's amazing in coaching in the couple of minutes or days or games I got to coach? I learned I learned right away that coaches plan for success, but they coach mistakes and failure. And Coach Stott stays positive and progressive in directing his team. And where I'm going with this is I'm looking at Myers-Leonard's line. Myers-Leonard hadn't played great and hadn't played a lot. And I always ask myself, do you have to play better before you play more, or do you play more and then you play better? And Terry Stotts finds a way to keep guys ready. And when he feels the situation, whether it be matchup, team, opponent, or schedule, is right, he plays a guy, and then they deliver, whether it's Mo Harkless, who's not necessarily in the rotation now, but when he was, he played well. And then Myers-Leonard got plugged in and played great.
Right, and you know what, and he knows the importance of that, and we as a staff, we know X's and O's are very important, but we talk every day as a staff about communicating with our guys. To have influence, you have to make investment. And Coach Stotts always says, one of the last things he says in a meeting is, do I have to talk to anybody? Or Oz, you need to talk to this guy, Nate, you need to talk to that guy, David, you need to talk to that guy. So we know the importance of it. These guys focused, let them all know that they're a part of this, and just to stay focused and ready.
Coach, we've talked about Myers. We've talked about Dame. I want to talk about C.J. McCollum, who is certainly taking a huge leap. I can't think of anyone right now in the NBA that is more deserving of most improved player than C.J. McCollum. Now, C.J. is going to tell you that he's always been good. He's just now getting that opportunity. Talk to us about C.J. and what you've seen in his development this season.
Well, you know what? This is my 28th year in coaching, and I can honestly say this is the best group of guys we've ever been around.
Wow.
The best group of guys we've ever been around. And I was just talking to Nate Tibbetts about that. And you talk about a kid that's also very coachable and that's hard on himself. And C.J. McCollum is a guy that just, he fits that. Obviously, he's having a great year for us. But a lot of times last year when he would get in the games, defensively he would struggle a little bit. As a coaching staff, we said he's probably one of our better wing and post defenders because at his size, people could post him up. But he does a great job of holding his ground. And he's a good kid, and he's a hard worker. So when you have those two elements and he's willing to coach, obviously the success is going to happen. So, but he's very talented, and he's another guy that's a joy to be around on and off the floor.
Well, so far, so good on this road trip. 4 games in 5 nights. It's not going to be easy. We are glad that you guys are getting an off night in New York City. We hope you guys are all behaving yourselves and finding some good eats. Coach Dale Osbourne joining us from the Big Apple.
Don't worry about that. They're in the Big Apple, baby. A lot of good eats. A lot of good eats in the Big Apple.
Yeah, you gotta eat.
24/7 in the Big Apple.
Exactly.
Coach Oz, thanks for the time. We appreciate it, and continued success on this road trip.
Thank you very much. Take
Appreciate
care, guys.
it.